Hi, everybody. It's Cheryl. I'm back again with another recording. I am super excited today because I have somebody special with us for the Student Success Squad podcast with myself, Cheryl Euling from Tutoring with Cheryl and the Tech Hub for Tutors, and Tina McMillan from Atypical Tutors. And today we are going to be diving into the reading crisis affecting students across the US and Canada, and more importantly, what we as tutors can do about it. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself, Tina McMillan, and our special guest, Joanne Kaminski. And if you are a first-time viewer, I will just do a brief introduction. I am Cheryl, and I have over 30 years of classroom teaching experience. I am currently a reading specialist, empowering struggling readers from kindergarten to sixth grade through evidence-based methods rooted in the science of reading. My personalized instruction blends phonics, decoding, spelling, writing, and reading comprehension to foster significant reading achievement. Beyond my direct work with students, I also equip fellow tutors and the Tech Hub for Tutors with essential digital literacy and marketing skills to maximize their impact. Tina, say hi for us so they could see you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you are not, if this is your first time. I'm Tina McMillan with Atypical Tutors. I'm a tutor, works one-on-one and online with kiddos that have autism, ADHD, and dyslexia specifically, working with their academic needs and also the behavioral aspect of it too, which always comes into play. Well, for anybody, if you have a diagnosis or not, we all have attitudes, honestly, some days, good days and bad days.
You're right. And I was going to mention that you have been doing this for 15 years. And you support students with dyslexia. If you didn't mention that, did you mention the dyslexia? Okay, it was quick. So making sure that we get that in there. And then our guest today is Joanne Kaminski. Joanne, can you say hi to the crowd here?
Hello. So glad to be here. It's always great to be able to talk about my favorite topic, which is reading.
And we are so glad to have you. And I'm so excited that Tina reached out to you to be on our show today. Joanne Kaminski is a leader in the online tutoring space with more than 25 years of experience as a teacher and a reading specialist. She successfully made the switch to online tutoring and now helps other tutors do the same. As the founder of the Online Tutor Coach, she supports a community of over 30,000 tutors in growing their businesses and reaching more students. My goodness. And through her YouTube channel with over 1 million views. Oh my goodness. Her Facebook group, the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors, which I am a member of, and her podcast, the Online Tutor Business Podcast, Joanne shares practical strategies and honest insights that make building a successful tutoring business more doable and less overwhelming. Whether you're just starting out or ready to grow, Joanne offers the tools, coaching, and encouragement tutors need to move forward with clarity and confidence. And we're so glad to have you on the show today, Joanne. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. It's nice that you take the time to do this and show that even though you're helping tutors, you're still helping a lot of students and you're making a difference. So today we're going to dive deep into the reading crisis affecting students across the United States and Canada, and more importantly, what we as tutors can do about it. And we're going to explore what this crisis looks like and share concrete ways tutors are making a difference. So Joanne, let's do a reality check here. We hear reading crisis a lot. Drawing on your personal classroom experience, your background, your current tutoring, your past tutoring, what does this actually mean? And what are you currently seeing in your practices?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because when I taught in the school system, I was actually in the inner city. And for us, the reading crisis was the fact that only 25% of our kids were reading on grade level or above. As a nation here in the United States, 40% of our students are reading on grade level or above. That's a crisis. We are graduating kids from high school who still have reading problems, and to make sure that they are ready for, what we're preparing them for, they're not prepared. We have less kids who are able to go on to take their college courses, and they have to take remedial courses if they want to get to that point. This really is a real crisis. The fact that we have, we're at the top of, a lot of people think of America as being kind of like at the top of the world, right? But Really, I think there was like 40 states and 40 countries that are at a higher reading level than we are here in the United States.
That's just incredible. Recently, Tina and I did some research, and we actually just talked about this on a prior podcast. And I pulled up the 2024 National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, and they gave very close to the same statistics that you just said. Reading scores have declined nationally for both fourth and eighth graders. Scores are lower than both 2022 and pre-pandemic 2019 levels. And this is the one that got me. Approximately 31% of the fourth graders scored at or above proficiency, which means 70% are less than proficient. Okay, proficient readers, being able to read, comprehend, know the vocabulary, all the things that it takes to be a great reader. And then at eighth grade, it was about the same, 33%. So, and we're getting widening gaps between the higher performers and the lower performers. And I see that in my tutoring practice too. And I've only been out of the classroom for 3 years, and I saw it a lot in my classroom. The parents that maybe had time to sit at home and, read with their kids, or they made that a priority. I saw less of a struggle. But Tina, what are you seeing up in Canada? Kind of the same issues?
Very, very similar. Very, very similar. Unfortunately, it's been a while since I've been kind of in a classroom setting. I work mostly independently, but I'm seeing so many children and students that are in higher grades, grade 5, grade 6, that are at grade 1, grade 2 reading levels. Like, how did they get to this point? It's just shocking to me. And it's so scary that I only have, a certain number of students, but you multiply that by how many there are in the country. I'm like, there's got to be millions, that are struggling. And it's going to snowball. They start off with a few things they don't understand, and then they just keep going and they keep going. And then it just becomes overwhelming. And then they get to the point where even if they didn't have behaviors to begin with, they are going to have behaviors now because they're so frustrated. They don't understand what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just when you say behaviors, the meltdowns that they're having. And, even in my tutoring practice, when they first start with me, they'll sometimes melt down. And, if they're melting down on a one-on-one situation, what's happening, in the classroom. So we are 3 tutors. We are here to talk about this. Joanne, given these challenges, we're going to talk about this. One huge advantage of tutoring is individualization. How critical is that diagnostic piece in tailoring instruction?
It's everything. I mean, I can't even start tutoring without that piece of it, because I need to know what is this specific child who's coming in front of me struggling with. And that's the very first thing in my reading interventionist course that I even address, is because if you don't know where the gaps are, you can't close them. And I do think that one of the problems is a lot of people, they have these different programs, right? And then they want to assess to where they're going to fit within that program, but that program may not be the best fit for that child. It may not be addressing the specific needs. So if we don't understand what those needs are, and we're just putting all kids into one program, you're going to end up with kids who are struggling in other areas of reading. And you could be using your time more wisely in your tutoring sessions if you knew exactly what you needed to focus on.
Exactly. I know that I use several programs that I've bought, just over this course of time. And you're exactly right. It's not a one size fits all. And I think that's where we really struggle as educators in the classroom, because you're given this curriculum and you're told to teach it. And teachers don't have the wiggle room to say, we're not teaching this to these kids. They're going to get something else, because you're mandated, you're going to teach this. But as a tutor, you're a private employee. I would think most of us are. We can make those choices. And I am just like you. I mean, that diagnostic. So can you tell me a little bit about what that diagnostic might look like for you and the children that you work with?
Yeah, so I always start off with, first, what types of words can you read? What types of mistakes are you making when you're reading them? And then I figure out from there, based off of grade level specific words, what type of passages can I put you inside of? And now what does your comprehension look like within those types of passages? And what does your reading sound like now that I have you in a passage? If I can get you that far. If I can't get them that far, then it looks like me going right back down to the basics. Do you know the names of your letters? Do you have those phonological awareness skills? Can you rhyme? Can you blend and segment without looking at the words? So I literally will just kind of keep breaking it down. Like, where is the breakdown for this specific student? Where, and knowing, like, because I was in the school system for so long and I was a reading specialist, or am a reading specialist, not that that ever goes away. I'm able to take a look and say, okay, this is where I need to start with this child, right on down here. And, let me see if this is going to work with them. And then I assess every 3 months to find out, am I on the right track with this specific student? And are we making the gains that I would expect them to be able to make? And are there any other things that could be hindering them that I'm seeing red flags for, such as dyslexia? Because I think this is the other big thing. We know how to diagnose dyslexia, yet here in the United States, we don't actually, most of the school systems do not diagnose for dyslexia. And then we make the parents have to pay $5,000 out of pocket in order to get that kind of diagnosis in place. And then the school system's upset because it feels like we went behind their back to get a diagnosis. It's like this whole, like, look, this is only about making sure that the kid is getting the right instruction for where they're at right now in the reading process.
I agree completely with you. And my practices are very similar. But I actually do mine just a little bit differently. I take every child through an alphabet and I say, tell me the letters, tell me the names, even if they're a fifth or sixth grader. I have literally had kids come in. This is right away where I can find out if they have reversal issues with their B's and D's and P's and Q's. I'm like, this is going to seem really simple, but we're going to do some stuff that's really simple today. And then I ask them for the sounds that they know that are associated with those. Then I do very much like you, give them a reading. Well, I give them a list, a list of words. And it's actually something that I paid for. So it's reliable. I don't have to say I made up the list. And I see how far they can go. And it tells me the approximate grade level they should be able to read. And then at the next lesson, I give them that actual text to read, and we go through the comprehension. And then I say, okay, moving forward, we're going to start right about here, because I think this is where you can handle the information. It might look a little bit easier than what's in the classroom. I don't sugarcoat it. I just say, this is where we're going to start. And this is, where we need to end up at. And there's a lot of buy-in there because it's private tutoring. It's not group tutoring, at least, at that point. Yeah. And they feel confident that they can read it, and then we're going to move forward. And I think that's the big, I think there people who are doing small group instruction in school are trying to do that, which is great. But if you did that all day and you only had, let's say, 15 minutes of instruction with that small group, and then they're left to go back on their own with no more teaching, they only got 15 minutes. They can't move forward, but they're meeting with me multiple times a week. And we are just focused on that. And that's what I think moves them ahead faster. And then we're also working on grade level content too. So I don't skip that step because I'm like, well, let's apply what we've learned to this. You might not know all the words, but I'm going to help you along the way. Tina, I don't want to ignore you sitting there in the crowd. Can you want to add anything to this part of the discussion that we would love to hear from you as well?
Oh my gosh. My first word that comes to mind is like ditto. It's like everything you've said is so accurate for all of the kids that I work with. And I think the one thing I would like to add is that with us being able to give one-on-one instruction, it's great because then that child feels recognized and validated, and we can build their confidence in a very, very short time, build on the successes that they've had. And we can challenge them at the same time. It's like, well, hey, remember you couldn't do that? You didn't know what that letter was? Now you do. Let's move on. And there's only 26 of them. You got this. You know what I mean? So I love that we can provide that support, and also for the families, because we work with the families a lot closer than the teachers have the ability to. and we can make, help make suggestions and help them support their child, because they see them, 24/7 mostly. I know they're in school, but you know what I mean? They're in their lives a lot more than we are. So we have to make as much of an impact as possible in the limited time that we have. That's what I find.
It was interesting that you said build confidence, because that was our next talking point. So our second talking point is, rebuilding that confidence, fostering a positive relationship. So beyond the mechanics of the reading, how can tutors, the three of us and the rest of you out there, how can tutors help boost their students' confidence with reading to build that positive relationship with reading? Joanne, I know you do a lot of really cool things in your reading practice because you've shared them, in your impact conferences. And I know you share them in the ultimate support group for tutors and your membership group. Can you give us some insight into the things that you do to make reading a positive relationship for children?
Well, I have to tell you that AI is just really changing the game in this field, because I am just so excited to really take it to the next level. A lot of my students were using like the UFly program, the phonics part, just to get like some of those core pieces inside of there, in addition to real reading experiences that they have. So I kind of combine, while there's this like now like guided reading is this like really awful word to say, but really guided reading is reading in text with support, right? And so it looks like guided reading literally is like coaching kids as they are reading, and really thinking about and applying those strategies that we've been able to do inside of UFly. But the passages inside of UFly, when they read like those decodable passages, oh my gosh, there's so much text on like one page, and it just feels so overwhelming for them. So to rebuild their confidence that like, look, you can do this, you have all the skills to be able to read this text, I've actually used AI to create them as the character inside of the book. And I then have one sentence at a time on each page so that it's doable. So it's the same exact amount of text that they were looking at before, and they're like, that's a lot of text, I can't read that. And now they're going on into it excited and motivated because they're in the book. And then we have the text right next to it, and it's only one sentence at a time on nice white text, nice large letters, so that they have that confidence to be able to read it. But then they're also having so much fun with being able to read that.
I love that. I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, you do have really amazing ideas. I will come with good ideas, though, to impact 8 with AI. So, because I'm exploring it too, and it could do really great things. One thing that I recently did, and it wasn't a UFly passage, but I took a text about the bald eagle. I had a second grader who's just started with me, very low reading skills. She's a good reader once she understands what she's reading, so rereading. But I took this passage, which I knew was too difficult for her, and I used one of the Conmigo tools, and I threw the text in, and I said, generate a second grade level passage using CVC words, or I can't even remember what I prompted it to. Took the same information and made it very readable. So I said, here's what we're going to be reading about. And I showed her the text, and she's like, oh, I can't read that. I said, don't worry, we're going to make it very readable for you. And then suddenly, she still struggled with a few things, which she should, because we've just started, but she felt much more confident and didn't give up right away.
Yeah.
So there are some really cool things. I know for a while you had been doing some gamification. Are you still doing that?
Oh yeah, gamification is always going to be built on in there. I mean, just the kids like moving up levels, getting points. Like I use Raz Kids a lot, and so they get points every time they finish a book, and they're able to use those points to buy things for their avatar and all of that fun stuff. So I think gamification is really cool because it allows you to recognize and give them that pat on the back, right? You're progressing, you are doing well. It's almost like leveling up in a video game, but they're leveling up with their reading.
Yeah. And I try to keep my gamification at the end of the lesson. I'm like, we're going to do the hard stuff first. We're going to celebrate at the end. But that is definitely something that I do too. I don't have one specific program that I use, but I try to find a tool that fits the child for the specific skill that we're working on. So that's great that you've got that all built out. Tina, we want to hear from you. And it doesn't have to be all that gamification like that, because you go to the students' homes and you're working with them one-on-one or maybe a small group. Can you give us some insights on how you're working to build confidence with reading?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I do lots of gaming as well. Gamification, I love that term. I also have different activities that we do to kind of break up. Like if we've done something that's been quite challenging and the child kind of needs a break, I have this software I found. It's called Image Reveal. Oh, my dogs are barking. Called Image Reveal, where it's you can download any image you want and hides behind a screen, a black screen that has all these boxes that are numbered, and you can determine how many number boxes you want depending on how many numbers the child knows. So then you hide an image behind it, and then they can, well, this is actually online too. They can pick a number, and it slowly reveals a picture. And it's usually one that they know, like Sonic or whatever. A new movie came out, Minecraft movie, so I put lots of those ones up. And I had one kiddo, he only revealed one box, and he knew what the whole picture was going to be from that one box. I'm like, what? I was so surprised, and he felt so amazed that he figured it out so quickly too, because I try to do that. So I try to give them breaks in between each things. I have let me just grab it. Sorry. I have a plan that I use. So I don't know if you guys can see that. It's got our box in the middle. That's what we're going to do that day. And then I have break blocks on the bottom so they can take a break after each activity if they want. I find that they, especially with the kiddos that are on the spectrum, and well, any child, they like to kind of know what's coming. They like to know what to expect. I don't like to throw them too many curveballs. So then they know exactly what we're doing. And if they want to change it, we want to change the order, no problem. Let's do it. Okay, we're still doing it at the end. Doesn't matter if it's always going to be in the same order. And it gives them kind of control over our sessions too. And then they feel they matter. I'm not just there to say, hey, you're going to do this, 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 and this. No, we're going to do it together. We're going to have fun. We're going to learn, because learning should be fun, because that way it's going to cement it in better. You know, another thing I just thought of, so my mind's all over the place because it's early and I've only had one cup of coffee. Is I like to use as many senses as possible. So being with them in person, I can definitely do that. You know, we can work on our touch, our smell, our hearing, our sight, everything. So anything we can use to kind of cement that concept, I find really works well.
And you know what I'm kind of hearing between the three of us? There's a lot of similarities, but there's something, and of course, I think we all know this, but I'm just going to say it out loud. We all have something special about our teaching strategies, or our teaching, what do they call that, pedagogy, or your beliefs about the way kids should learn. But there's something similar about all of it, you know, and about the importance of it, and that we're going to show up when we're there for the kids, and that relationship, not just about encouraging reading, but being there for our kids, I think is a high point too. Okay, point 3, we're almost done, guys. You guys have done a great job. We're building these skills and confidence, but how do we work to ensure that students can apply them beyond the tutoring session? Joanne, we're going to go ahead and start with you since you are our guest.
Yeah, it really does start off with them, like, when we're reading, I have them choose a strategy. So what strategy do you want to use in order to figure this out? And a lot of times my students want to use the guessing strategy, which is also the guessing strategy that they use when they're on their own. And so we'll actually kind of map that out. Okay, so guessing is definitely an option. You know, we take guesses at things in life all the time. So we can make that guess. Let's see though how much more accurate it is to, you know, let's try the guessing, let's see if it works, and then we're going to mark down, does it work? And then we're going to try one of the other strategies that we've been taught, whether that is spot and dot, or it is the peeling off strategy, or sounding it out. Maybe it's a shorter word, or thinking about what is the pattern that we see inside of this word. We're going to look at all of those different techniques that we have and begin transferring them from the guessing strategy, which all kids do, by the way. A lot of people want to say that only kids who are in guided reading books and are part of balanced literacy guess. No, all kids guess, and they guess in every single situation, whether it's with decodable books or not decodable books. But it's getting them to move from that guessing strategy that they feel so comfortable with to the other strategies, which are going to give them much more success. So I like to really map it on out for them and get them trying it so that they can make that transition.
Great. I love those ideas. I do a lot of breaking it down into syllables, even with my older readers, like, well, let's chunk this word and okay, pre whatever, and then pre-read or whatever that happens to be, and breaking it down into its parts, and sometimes even just breaking it down into eid, so that they can chunk that word. Digital tools are great for me because I'm an online tutor. So, being able to teach the kids how to highlight the text if they're in a document themselves, or if it's just shared document, or if I'm the presenter, I can, do that. And then typing even, because reading and writing are kind of together, and helping them to see that the skills that they're learning in their reading are going to be used in their writing. And also to encourage reading outside of our time together and ask them, hey, what are you reading? Tell me more. Tell me more. What are you reading? And if I know that they, if I know the book and I'm like, I don't think that's what that's about, I'll be like, well, open that book up. Do you have it? Go get it. Okay, can you read something in there? Well, what's that? What's that about? And then having them recognize that maybe they've got a book that's maybe too hard, or and then I can offer a suggestion for something else. And sometimes parents even reach out to me like, hey, we need a list of books. I'm like, great. I use Google Classroom. So I put in a digital library for my students where they can come back and grab things later. I know we all have our own things that we use. Parents love that so much. They love knowing that if they want it, it's there. Now, do they use it? I don't know. I'm not monitoring that. But I think, knowing that there's those options for kids, they like that a lot. Tina, can you add to that?
Oh, absolutely. One tool that I use online as well, and also with my kids one-on-one, since I bring my laptop with me, I use ReadWorks. I don't know if you guys use that as well. And you can pick so many topics. It has vocabulary activities in there. It has questions. You can do comprehension afterwards. You can color the sentences, whatever color they want after they read them, and we take turns. And it opens up so many opportunities to engage the student, ask them questions, make sure they understand, and see words that maybe they hadn't seen before, and maybe they had only heard the word. They've never actually seen it in print. So now it's like, I always say, oh, I bet you've heard this word before, but maybe you didn't know what it looked like. You know what I mean? And then you're like, and then it gives you this bar. If you know the word, you don't know it, it's like an orange or yellow, and then you go all the way to the green where you know it well. I always say, oh, now let's put it in a sentence. We know what this word is now. How do you put it in a sentence? And they do that. Bam, on to the next one. It's such a great resource. I really love it.
Awesome. So, just continuing to encourage our kids to use the skills that they've been learning with us in our tutoring sessions. I think checking in with them, checking with the parents. It's really difficult to check in with the teacher, but some of you might have broke that code really well. So why strong reading skills matter. We focus on reading intervention, but the benefits ripple outwards. Let's quickly touch on how improving reading impacts the student's entire academic life and beyond before we wrap things up. So Joanne, what is your perspective about, the impact that you're making with your students, and how is that going to impact them beyond work with you?
Well, you and I are both at that age where we've had our students graduate and go on and do some amazing things. And so just to actually get to see what that ripple effect is pretty cool. I got a message probably about 5 or 6 years ago from one of the kiddos that I worked with when she was in like first and second grade. And the mom messaged me and said, hey, just wanted to let you know about your Ruby. She is now in honors English. And from somebody who really struggled with learning how to read, to hear that she went on to go on to honors English, and even to see with my own kids, one did not struggle and two did struggle a little bit more with reading. And the two that struggled, they have gone on to do incredible things. I mean, my daughter Becca, she's got a 4.0. When she graduated high school, she's gone on. She's now in medical school. So just to kind of see that, this is just a tiny little blip in their experience right now that we get to be a part of, but it has huge impact overall. I think is really cool. And, you know, a lot of the parents, they don't reach out later to us and tell us like what has that greater impact been, but it does develop that critical thinking skills, right? And it's not just about, it's about resilience. It builds I tell people all the time, like kids that struggle with reading, they're the most resilient learners because they already understand how to tackle something that's really tough to learn, and then they master it and they feel on top of the world, but they can bring that resiliency with them and the rest of the learning when things do get hard. I've seen other kids that, you know, they don't struggle with reading at all, and they just kind of get things when they are in school, but then later on when they start, you know, coming across things that are tougher to learn, they have less of that grit that is needed in order to stick with it because they haven't really needed to utilize that part of them yet.
I agree with you completely. And getting messages, I'm still getting graduation cards from former students of mine that are graduating. And Mrs. Ewing, you took the time to teach me what I needed. You helped me build my confidence. I hope you can come to my graduation party. I'm like, sure, I'll be right over, you know. Or parents calling me or seeing me in the grocery store. Oh my gosh, you know, you just wouldn't believe how, you know, my child is doing. They're in, you know, of course, I never expected them to be in high school. They're going to graduate because of you. And again, I liked what you said. It's a small little bit of time. And how many of us in our lives haven't needed a little help with something? I know there's a lot of things I need help with. And sometimes I need to go get help from somebody else. And, you know, there are tutors out there like the three of us that are very, very willing and able to help. Tina, go ahead and address this about impacting academic life and beyond.
I was just going to say that we fulfill such a great need, not only for teaching our students how to read and give them life skills for the rest of their life, but also so many parents try to do what we do, and there's always that friction. Especially I find more with mothers and daughters. Like if the mother just makes any suggestion, the daughter just like, you know what I mean, just gets so tense. So we're kind of the go-between. We're kind of the middleman, kind of say, okay, this is what I found. So many times I find, even just after the first meeting with the child, I've discovered things about them that the parents didn't even know. I'm like, did you know they really like this? Because I do like a get to know you page kind of thing where I ask them questions and find out what they like. Because then it kind of gives me a direction as to where I want to go and what I want to incorporate to get them more motivated into what, you know, to get them what I want them to do. So it could just be topics we want to talk about, if it's conversation they need help with, and that. So I find that we provide just more than just tutoring. We are creating relationships. We're giving the child the ability to learn how to trust other people than their parents and their teachers they see every day. There's other people in the world that care about them. I'm going to start crying if I keep talking about this. Sorry. But you know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm going with this. We're super important for more than one reason.
Yes. Yes. That is just absolutely great. Joanne, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to meet with us today. It has been such a joy to have you on talking about this very important topic. I have all of your links over here, and I will include them in the description. But is there one in particular or a couple that you'd like to talk about where we can find you?
I think right now, yeah, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, you can always type on in Joanne Kaminski. I always have the same image there, so I will look to say no matter where you find me online. But yeah, definitely reach on out. I do have the reading interventionist course that I have created to be able to help tutors who really want to understand, how do I create these interventions for students so that I'm not really using this one size fits all method, but I'm choosing the right tools at the right time for the students that I need to be able to work with so that I am really making the gains that I want to be able to make with my students.
Awesome. If they wanted that course, would there be a specific place that they could go to?
Yes, I will send the link to the landing page. I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, but I will send that to you.
Share it with me and I will get it down. That's great. And I just want to thank you again for being a part of this small little podcast that Tina and I have put together called the Student Success Squad. And for those viewers that are just joining us today, you can reach out to either one of us there as well. You guys, thank you so much for taking time out. You guys make it a great day. And as usual, keep the learning going.